Good morning. Today we are going to talk about a new concept, which is natural selection. In the previous lesson, we explained Darwin's idea, which is living organisms could change in structure, and he suggested that the species become adapted to meet the challenges of their environment, which is in general evolution. To understand evolution by means of natural selection, we have to understand many concepts. So, the first concept is overproduction. So, in our life, if a clothing company overproduces a type of blouse, the extras might be put on sale. So, overproduction in biology has more serious consequences. If organisms living in an area create more offspring than the environment can maintain, some of them will die. So, in overproduction, if organisms in an area create more offspring than the environment can maintain, some of them will die. And Darwin noticed this thing. So, for example, if we have a female moth, this female moth may lay 500 eggs, but actually not 500 new offspring will be produced because not all the eggs will stay alive. So, if a female moth may lay 500 eggs, but the moth population does not increase by the same proportion, so no, not 500 eggs will be left. So this is the first concept, which is overproduction. So what is it again? If organisms living in an area create more offspring than the environment can maintain, some of them will die. Okay, now the second concept is struggle for existence. Actually, the concept of the struggle for existence concerns the competition or battle for resources needed to live. So, the living organisms compete or battle for resources needed to live. So, as they wrote here, that organisms compete for the limited resources within the environment. So, here we have an example. Several moths may try to feed on the same nectar producing flower. So, they want to feed from the same flower. So, they are in struggle for existence. Okay. Now, the third concept is variation, which means the differences in characteristics between individuals of the same species. So, when we have differences in characteristics between individuals of the same species, so we have variation. Okay? Here we have survival of the fittest. Actually, survival of the fittest, which is the fifth edition of Darwin's book, which suggested that organisms best adjusted to their environment are the most successful in surviving and reproducing. So, the organisms best adjusted to their environment are the most successful in surviving and reproducing. So here they wrote that individuals that are most successful in the struggle for existence are more likely to survive than those without these advantages. So the individuals, that are most successful in the struggle for existence, so they are more likely to survive. Now, the last concept is natural selection, which means that characteristics that offer and advantage will most likely passed on to offspring. And the individuals with those characteristics have a better chance of surviving. So the result is revolution occurs with natural selection. So natural selection means that characteristics that offer an advantage will most likely passed on to offspring. And individuals with those characteristics have a better chance of surviving. Here they wrote that advantages, characteristics are passed on to offspring, so we are in natural selection. Okay, now here we have concept which is selection pressure. Actually, in selection pressure, one part of the population may be favored. For example, here we have a height in a characteristic that shows continuous variation in antelopes. So actually in antelopes we have here three ranges of height which are small, average and tall. Now when food is only available from high branches, so natural selection picks out the taller antelopes. So if we have food in high branches, so the natural selection will be for taller antelopes. So if you focus here in this chart, you will find that it's towards the tall antelope. Why? Because we have food with high branches. So here the small antelope cannot eat from this food, so the natural selection is taller antelopes. Here we have another example. Here we have forming a new species, also selection pressures. As we said that selection pressures, when one part of the population may be favored. So here the population the same, antelopes. We have small, average and tall antelopes. Now the natural selection by predators, for example the lion is a predator. Now those predators like lions can see tall antelopes more easily, so they favors the small antelopes. So lions in general favor small antelopes. So here you will find that the chart towards the small antelopes. In the same living organism which is antelope, here the natural selection by food availability. So if we are talking about the high trees only, the food is high trees only, so here favors the tall antelopes because the tall antelopes can reach into the high trees to eat from them. So you will find that the chart is toward the tall antelope. So here we have selection pressures. Okay, so in selection pressures, one part of the population may be favored. So here for lion, one part of the population may be favored, which is small antelopes, and here also one part of the population may be favored for the high trees, which is tall antelope. Okay, so that's the idea for natural selection. So the last thing again, the definition of natural selection is the characteristics that offer an advantage will most likely passed on to offspring. Okay, so the individuals with those characteristics have a better chance of surviving. So the result in general that revolution occurs with natural selection. And as we said that evolution by means of natural selection needs those five concepts, which are overproduction, struggle for existence, variation, survival of the fittest, and the last thing, the natural selection itself. So thank you for listening. Study well and good luck.